programs over this year and beyond to try to address that need. Because again, if all of us know what's happening with data, that's only a part of the solution. We need to get everybody in the state to understand that this is the value of data, this is how data is being used in this state to make improvements in education for our children and our students, and this is what we're doing. This is why you can trust all of us with that data. This is a huge commitment. The AD is making that commitment, and we know all of you here are also involved in working with us on that commitment to streamline our data, to protect the data. But this, we are committed to working with you and partnering with you in continuing this dialogue. And again, this dialogue it should never stop. Once it started now, genie's out, it's just got to keep living. So, well, with that said, I'll take any questions.
I have a question.
Yes?
When you refer to putting posting a list of your requirements and data owners on the website, you make sure that you post the authority along with that, so that this data element is required by this statute, or this data element is required by this federal law. Because if that's where we have problems, sometimes we're asked to get data, and then what's the authority?
And we're getting there. We have that documented for some collections already. Specifically, a lot of the SACE data elements, those collections are well documented in terms of what the authority is, because there's a lot of student level data on there. For things that are not necessarily student level data, we are not as good at documenting why we're collecting that aggregate information, and we're working on trying to make sure that that happens. Any other questions? Yes?
Mine's on getting out the changes on when you move stuff or you need different passwords or how people get it. And right now there's been a lot of changes with names, passwords, rights. Myself as a SACE coordinator, I can't see a list of who has what.
So let me talk a little bit about our security strategy going forward. Some of you may have been inflicted with this thing called AD Connect recently. And it's really a first pass. I mean, it's something that's just starting. We have the AD Connect is eventually means we have to change a lot of things in order to remove all the common law run stuff and switch things over. But AD Connect is really going to replace everything that common law run does eventually. And AD Connect is a very secure system, and it is highly configurable. It will allow a lot of reporting on who's accessing what and who has rights to see what, but it's a work in progress. One of the components of AD Connect that's not quite rolled out yet, but we are just piloting it with certain districts that are in the longitudinal data system pilot, is this concept that is called federated identity management. It's a technical way of saying that we are going to trust your LEA in terms of managing users. So there are two ways that we've been doing. One is for those that have been inflicted with this AD Connect situation currently, is allowing you to have access to a console to add and delete users. That's one part of it. But that's not actually the preferred method. The longer term solution is that as your district and LEA, as you add users to whatever your own internal system is, those users will automatically have the ability to access AD systems based on how they're configured in your system. So that if you configure somebody in your system that says, this is a teacher, and through student-teacher course connection, we know that these are the classes that your teacher teaches, when they log onto the state system, this teacher will be able to see their data, as well as the data for the students that are in their classes. The same thing goes for administrators, principals, superintendents. Those are the easy roles, but we're working to define other types of roles. So if there are roles that through a discussion of saying that, well, there's somebody that is the coordinator of this specific program. Well, we can set that up as a state role, and you'll be able to configure that in your system. So you can designate, this is the person that's designated the coordinator for this program, and when they log on to the ADE system, we'll automatically know that this is so-and-so, this is from this district, they have the ability to access these things because you told us so. So that process is in place right now. We're testing it out with just the dashboards, but over time, we're gonna migrate to this. This requires us to work with all of your SIS vendors. That discussion is taking place right now because the goal of this authentication is that for anybody that's logged onto an SIS system, they'll be able to use that link that once they've logged on, not have to log on again on the state systems. And that your SIS system will automatically talk to our state systems, AD Connect, and say to transmit the information that's required for us to authenticate and let that person in. So that's something that, again, a work in progress, but again, the idea is that we trust you. You can update things faster than we can. So let's take advantage of that to make sure that you have the ability to add and delete users. The moment you delete a user, they no longer have access to our system. There's no like 1 year waiting for an updated letter of attestation or anything like that. Again, it's all going to be as quickly as you need it to be.
Is there like a Gantt chart of timeframes of when things are going to take place? And the reason I'm asking that is that we were asked to do something at our district level and give access to AD Connect to our principals for our school level reading, and we kept going into that system, but yet it wasn't there, and we were being told by AD staff that it's there, and it really wasn't there. So I think being open and communicating where things are, when they're going to be there, externally but also internally, will also help us to know we need to back off and stop asking questions, but also AD staff needs to know that if you're telling us it's there, it needs to be there. So I think having that time frame of when things are available for everybody would help us to know when to communicate where things are. Yes.
I think that's an excellent point. I think we need to make sure that we are partners in this, that we're not just using tools like our website to tell you things that are outdated, but to give you information as so that you can be a partner. Again, if we need you to be partners in working with us. And if we don't give you the information that you need in order to convey the messages in a unified fashion, to let your colleagues know what's happening, then we're not doing our job. So again, we'll take that and work with that. Yes?
So continuing on this new system that
Yes.
you have that you just mentioned that everybody laughed about, but what I'm hearing is there's still not a good message out there as to what we, the schools, need to do to get somebody in, connection or whatever it's called. Like, okay, so we have an administrator, and then you have the principals, and so we list somebody, and then they have to go in. We don't have the steps clear. Are they out there?
I don't know if the steps are out there, but all I know is that our help desk gets so many calls on AD Connect right now that I know that there's a problem. So that's something that we are aware of. Yeah.
I'm going to
You
address
want to
that.
talk about that? Okay, you can talk about that.
I will.
You will talk about that.
I'm going to talk about ADE Connect. Okay? I don't have all the answers yet, but I do have some information for you that I'm looking forward to share. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Anything else not about AD Connect? Great, thank you very much for your time this morning.
All of this information that Ed was sharing this morning is a part of the discussion that occurred at the Data Governance Conference that Scott and John and I attended. And strange though it may sound, I am so excited about this because it brings organization to our jobs, is the way I look at it. We are data stewards. I've always said that in school districts that I've worked for. My superiors didn't necessarily appreciate that or understand what that meant. But it's something that I indeed take very seriously because of not only the responsibility for the funding, but the responsibility to provide good data to our people, to our teachers. And this whole proposal and the way that this has all been put together is going to wind up bringing everything that we need to be able to provide the support that we need to provide for the schools. And again, not only in funding, but in accurate data that will give the teachers and the administrators good information so that everybody can do their jobs better. And that really is going to me, that looks like taking those great big pieces of a jigsaw, a 5,000 piece jigsaw puzzle, and bringing them all together and making a really nice picture. Will it be easy? Of course not. Will it take a few years to accomplish? Of course it will. But the goal, the organization and the structure is there, and that's something we haven't had from ADE before. And I think this is terrific. Ed and his group have done a great job of putting all of this together. And the continuity, the long-term solution, which for those of us who've been doing state reporting since prior to SACE and through SACE, and where we're looking forward to going in the future, it's just, to me, it's just a really nice picture of how it's grown and how we can get there. So I'm really excited about it, and I think it's going to wind up in the long run making all of our jobs a lot easier. One of the activities we did at the conference was to take the list of every report that's due to ADE. It had them printed on like poster-sized paper, and we all sat down and went through them, and it was just, you know, page after page after page of the same data. We all know that. You know, when your grants director calls you and says they need such and so, how many homeless kids do we have? ADE wants to know. Go look in SACE, because they all have a need. Don't ask me that question. They already have that information. So those were the kinds of activities and the kinds of things that we did at that conference in having a discussion on how we can improve the data points. So thank you again, Ed. I really appreciate you taking the time to explain this to everybody. Let's go ahead and take a break. And we're a little bit ahead of schedule. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. So we'll start back up again at 10 o'clock. Thanks.